My neighbor stole my identity to claim a $4.5 million lottery win, then sued me for it. I didn't even know my neighbor had my social security number until the state lottery office called me. At first, I thought it was a scam. Some woman told me they needed to verify my identity for a multi-million dollar prize. I hung up. Then they called again. Same number, same woman, same information. I asked for a case number and looked it up. It was real. I hadn't bought any lottery tickets, but someone had, and they used my name and SSN to claim the prize. I walked out of my house that day with my head spinning. The idea that I had won money I never touched didn't make sense. I went straight to my mailbox, then to the front yard. My neighbor, Chris, was outside washing his truck. He waved at me like he always did, but there was something off. Brand new truck, designer clothes, gold chain, a grin he never used to wear. I didn't say anything right away. I waited. I checked the lottery claim details again that night. The name on the claim was mine, but the mailing address was Chris's house. I hadn't given him any of my personal information, at least I thought I hadn't. A few days later, I got a letter from the IRS confirming changes to my tax account, then a letter from the lottery office confirming receipt of a W-2G tax form. The winnings were over $4.5 million, and they were filed under my SSN. That's when it clicked. A year earlier, Chris had asked me for help setting up a joint cable account. He said his credit wasn't good. I gave him my info for the application, thinking it would help us both get a discount. I didn't realize that also gave him access to my SSN. He never canceled the account, and now somehow he used my data to file a claim. I went to his house and told him what I found. He looked me straight in the face and said it was a misunderstanding. He said he'd bought the ticket, paid for it, scratched it, and brought it in. But since the claim form asked for ID, he just used the one we set up before. Then he said something that pissed me off more than anything. He said I should be grateful, that he included me in the winnings, that we shared the account, so technically I was part of the claim. And then he said that I owed him for the opportunity. The next day, I went to the lottery office myself. I brought my ID. They confirmed the claim had already been paid out to a prepaid account under my name, linked to a card. I had never seen that card. It was activated and used from an ATM down the street. The security footage showed Chris. I reported it. Fraud, identity theft, tax manipulation. The agent at the counter looked surprised I waited that long. I told them I only just found out. Meanwhile, Chris kept walking around the neighborhood like nothing happened. He told a few of our neighbors we had a deal. He said I was trying to back out of it now that the money came in. People started looking at me sideways. One guy even said, "You should have kept your word." Word about what? Chris was spinning the story before I could defend myself. I got a call from a local reporter asking if I'd give a statement about the shared claim. I hung up. That night, Chris threw a party. Loud music, catering, people I didn't recognize. Someone parked in my driveway like I wasn't even part of the block anymore. The worst part? Legally, the money was under my name. So the taxes? On me. If I didn't fix it, I'd be the one paying for the prize I never touched. And Chris? He told everyone I was bitter and greedy, that I wanted all of it when we'd supposedly agreed to split. I realized that unless I acted fast, I'd be left with debt, no money, and a neighbor who just got away with the perfect theft in plain sight. What would you do if your neighbor stole your identity to claim a $4.5 million prize? And everyone believed him? Drop your thoughts below. I filed the police report, handed over the paperwork, emails, printed photos of the ATM footage, and copies of every document I could find that showed my name being used without my consent. The officer nodded like he'd seen this before, but nothing happened for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Chris kept spending. New rims, new patio furniture, a hot tub. I couldn't sleep. The IRS had sent another notice. They were estimating my tax liability at over $1.2 million. I hadn't touched a cent of that money, but legally the claim was under my identity. I called them, tried to explain. They said fraud had to be proven through law enforcement before they could make any changes. Until then, I was responsible for it. I hired a lawyer. She was blunt. She said the case was complicated because technically the claim went through under my ID, and proving intent on Chris's part would take time. The longer we waited, the worse it got. He was moving fast. Spending, transferring, covering his tracks. I checked my credit score. It dropped 70 points. He had opened a second account using my info to pay taxes on the winnings, using my name to make it look legit. I didn't even know you could do that. The lawyer said this wasn't just identity theft. It was wire fraud, tax fraud, maybe even money laundering. But it would take a court order to freeze anything. I filed an emergency injunction to stop all financial activity under my SSN. The judge approved it within 48 hours, but by then, Chris had already withdrawn most of the money. He'd moved the funds through 3 prepaid cards and 2 mobile banks. My lawyer said it looked like he had a plan before the win ever happened. I found out he even contacted a tax preparer to file under my name, using forged signatures, and the guy did it. filed everything. Now the state showed my name as the official lottery winner in their system. The worst part was the neighborhood. Chris started walking around like a martyr, telling everyone I was trying to steal his dream. He said we had a gentleman's agreement to claim the ticket under my name for tax reasons. He said I'd promised him 80% of it, but then got greedy and tried to keep it all. People believed him. My mailbox started filling up with garbage. Flyers about honoring your word? A dead rat showed up on my porch. I couldn't prove it was him, but it lined up. He'd gotten ahead of me on the story and weaponized it. I stopped answering calls. A local podcast even mentioned me by name, calling me a scammer who got caught trying to cut out the real winner. The news didn't care about the truth, just the version with the most drama. Chris fed them lines and they printed it. I tried to fight back, released a statement through my lawyer, shared parts of the documents, but Chris was already saying I was faking them, that I forged his signature, not the other way around. He was always one step ahead. Every time I tried to speak up, he'd twist it, go louder, get more eyes on his version. Then came the final punch. He filed a civil suit against me. He claimed I'd agreed to hold the ticket in my name, and now I was in breach of an oral contract. He wanted his 80%. My lawyer laughed when she read it, said it was weak, said we'd countersue. But I knew what he was doing. He wanted to bury me in paperwork, keep me stuck in court while he kept spending the money. And it was working. Every hour I spent in meetings was another hour he used to clean up the trail. I was behind. I was losing. And unless something major happened, I'd be left holding the bag. Taxes, lawsuits, and public shame. While he vanished into the background with millions. I had one card left to play, but it wasn't going to be easy. Have you ever watched someone twist the truth so hard the world believed it? Drop a comment if you'd keep fighting, or walk away. I stopped trying to convince people. It wasn't working. Every explanation made me look defensive. Chris had too much of a head start with his story, but I still had one thing left, facts, hard proof, not claims, not interviews, just data. And one of those pieces was sitting in my old laptop. A year ago before all this started, I'd scanned in a copy of my cable account agreement, the one I opened for Chris, where I gave him access to my ID. It had his signature next to a section that said, limited use for residential services only. It meant nothing to me back then. Now it meant everything. It proved I gave him limited permission for one purpose, not blanket consent to use my SSN however he wanted. That document gave my lawyer the opening she needed. She filed for a fraud investigation based on the misuse of that original agreement. We subpoenaed the lottery office's claim review footage. Turned out, Chris showed up alone to submit the form, with a printout of my driver's license and forged signature. Then he activated a prepaid card with my info at a gas station kiosk the next morning. The timestamps matched. Surveillance footage matched. He never expected anyone to check. We got a forensic analyst to review the signature. Not mine. Not even close. And when we finally got into court, my lawyer laid it all out clean. Fraudulent use of SSN, forged tax forms, identity theft, use of my credentials to receive state-regulated prize money without consent. Chris's face said it all. He looked like someone who realized too late the game was over. His lawyer tried spinning the verbal agreement angle again, but the judge didn't bite. The lack of any written contract, the forged documents, the misused cable agreement, it collapsed the whole narrative. The court froze his remaining assets. Not much left. He'd already burned through most of the money, but what mattered was the tax liability. It was officially removed from my name. The state refiled the claim under fraud, and the IRS cleared the debt from my record. Chris was charged. He ended up taking a deal to avoid jail time but lost everything. He had to pay restitution, lost his truck, sold the hot tub, and moved out of the neighborhood 3 months later. People stopped talking. Not because they apologized, they didn't, but because the story no longer served them. They just moved on to the next thing. I stayed. I kept the house, fixed my credit, blocked every number that tried to reach out to get the real story. I didn't care anymore. Let them believe whatever they want. The hardest part wasn't the theft. It wasn't the taxes, the court, or the lies. It was realizing how fast people can turn when the wrong voice gets loud first. Next time, I won't give anyone my information, not even a neighbor. Not even if it seems harmless, especially not then. Ever been betrayed by someone who lived next door? Comment what you would have done if this happened to you.